Did you know that Jon Jones holds the record for the most title fight wins in UFC history? Sometimes, UFC can have moments that make people argue and feel upset. This happens because UFC is a tough sport, and fighters can do things that are against the rules, like using the wrong stuff or not making the right weight. Also, sometimes the judges say one fighter wins, but some people don't agree. Fighters can also say mean things to each other, making people more upset. UFC is watched by many people, so when something happens, everyone talks about it. That's why there are often arguments and upset feelings in UFC. It's just a part of the sport. Brock Lesnar, UFC 200. In one of the most memorable moments in UFC history, Brock Lesnar made a highly anticipated return to the octagon at UFC 200. The event was in dire need of a star power injection after the Jon Jones vs. Daniel Cormier rematch, and the Conor McGregor vs. Nate Diaz 2 fight fell apart. To expedite Lesnar's return, the UFC seemingly bent the rules by granting him an exemption from the usual 6-month USADA testing period required for returning athletes. Lesnar's comeback initially seemed like a resounding success as it drew massive pay-per-view buys. However, the joy was short-lived as it was revealed that Lesnar had failed a post-fight drug test. He tested positive for clomiphene, an estrogen blocker typically used to restart testosterone production after steroid cycles. This revelation tarnished the entire UFC 200 event and raised questions about the fairness of Lesnar's participation. Daniel Cormier, Towelgate. Towelgate is a reference to an incident during a weigh-in involving Daniel Cormier. During the weigh-in for one of his fights, Cormier appeared to use a towel to stabilize himself on the scale while trying to make the required weight. This raised suspicions that he might have been manipulating his weight, which is against the rules. The use of the towel was captured on camera, and it became a point of controversy, leading to debates about whether it was a fair practice or not. Dillashaw Return. Dillashaw, a former UFC champion, made a comeback to the sport after serving a suspension for using an illegal performance-enhancing drug. His return fight was highly anticipated, but it didn't go as planned. Dillashaw struggled to make weight for his fight against Corey Sandhagen, and it was later revealed that he had a severe shoulder injury sustained during his training camp. Despite the injury, Dillashaw decided to go ahead with the fight, which many criticized as a risky and ill-advised decision. The injury significantly affected his performance in the octagon. Nick Diaz, Nevada State Athletic Commission. Nick Diaz, a popular MMA fighter, faced multiple controversies related to marijuana use. He repeatedly tested positive for marijuana in post-fight drug tests, leading to sanctions imposed by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. These sanctions included substantial fines and suspensions from competition. The controversy surrounding Diaz's marijuana use raised questions about the fairness of these penalties compared to those imposed on fighters who tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. Dana White, UFC 232 relocation. UFC President Dana White made a controversial decision to relocate UFC 232 from Las Vegas to California on short notice. This decision came in the wake of issues related to Jon Jones, one of the main event fighters, failing a drug test. The sudden relocation created logistical challenges for fans, fighters, and event organizers, causing frustration and inconvenience for those involved. Critics argued that the decision was driven by the UFC's desire to keep Jon Jones on the fight card, raising questions about fairness and the integrity of the sport. Charles Olivera, stripped of title. Charles Olivera, the UFC lightweight champion, found himself embroiled in controversy when he missed weight for a title defense fight. The incident occurred amid concerns about the accuracy of the weighing scale used for official weigh-ins. Olivera's failure to make weight led to the stripping of his title just days before the scheduled fight, resulting in confusion and disappointment for fans and fighters alike. Vicente Belfort, TRT. Vicente Belfort, a veteran MMA fighter, faced controversy for his use of testosterone replacement therapy. TRT was a medical treatment that some fighters use to maintain their testosterone levels within acceptable limits. However, it was widely criticized for potentially providing an unfair advantage. Belfort's use of TRT during his fights sparked debates about the ethics and fairness of such treatments in the sport. Eventually, TRT was banned in MMA. James Krauss, suspension. James Krauss, a former UFC fighter who transitioned into a successful MMA coach, became embroiled in a scandal related to his involvement with bettors. Krauss was accused of sharing insider information with bettors through a Discord server he operated. This raised concerns about the integrity of coaching and betting in the sport. Krauss's suspension and the controversy surrounding his actions raised questions about transparency and fairness within the MMA community. Reebok deal, fighter sponsorship. The UFC signed an exclusive sponsorship deal with Reebok, a major sportswear brand, which resulted in significant changes to how fighters could secure sponsorships. Under the Reebok deal, fighters were prohibited from displaying their own sponsors on their fight gear, including shorts and banners. This exclusivity deal drastically reduced fighters' opportunities to earn income from sponsorships, leading to financial hardships for many fighters who relied on these sponsorships as a significant source of revenue. The deal sparked discussions about the financial well-being of fighters and the UFC's control over fighter sponsorship opportunities. UFC 229 Brawl, UFC 229, headlined by the highly anticipated fight between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor, ended in chaos and controversy. After Nurmagomedov secured a submission victory, he leaped over the cage to confront one of McGregor's teammates, Danis, who had been taunting him. This ignited a brawl inside and outside the cage, involving fighters, team members, and even fans. The melee overshadowed Nurmagomedov's victory and led to both fighters facing potential disciplinary actions. The UFC 229 Brawl became a major talking point and raised concerns about sportsmanship and security in MMA events. Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is a dynamic fighter in the UFC lightweight division. He's known for his relentless fighting style, always pushing forward and engaging in thrilling battles. Gaethje has an impressive wrestling background, which he combines with powerful striking to create a fan-favorite fighting style. His fights are often intense and full of action, making him a popular figure in the sport. Darrick Minner. Darrick Minner competes in the UFC featherweight division. While he may not have the same level of recognition as some of the more prominent fighters, he has showcased his skills and determination in the octagon. Minner has had his moments of success and has proven himself as a tough competitor in his weight class. Danis. Danis is primarily known for his expertise in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He gained attention for being a training partner of Conor McGregor, one of the sport's biggest stars. While he hasn't had as many high-profile MMA fights as some of the others on your list, his association with McGregor and his outspoken personality have kept him in the spotlight. Danis is considered a talented grappler and has the potential to make a name for himself in the MMA world as his career progresses. In conclusion, UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, has seen its fair share of controversies over the years. These moments happen because UFC is a tough sport where fighters push their limits, and sometimes rules are bent or broken. From fighters like Brock Lesnar returning with a drug test failure to Daniel Cormier's Towelgate incident during a weigh-in, controversies can arise unexpectedly. Even popular fighters like Nick Diaz faced issues with marijuana use, leading to fines and suspensions. UFC President Dana White's decision to relocate UFC 232 added to the drama, as did Charles Olivera's missed weight and title stripping. Vicente Belfort's use of TRT and James Krauss's suspension for sharing insider information also raised eyebrows. Additionally, the exclusive Reebok deal affected fighter sponsorships, causing financial strains. The infamous UFC 229 brawl between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor marred a highly anticipated fight. Despite these controversies, UFC continues to entertain millions worldwide, with fighters like Justin Gaethje, Darrick Minner, and Danis bringing their unique skills and stories to the octagon. UFC remains a dynamic and talked-about sport, showing that drama and excitement are all part of the game.